The great hall of the Galactic Academy was silent. Rows of alien generals sat high on their metal thrones, their glowing eyes locked on a massive holographic screen that filled the room. The screen showed a lonely, storm-filled moon, a dead world known as Chorus 9. This place was cursed, at least that's what the older soldiers called it. The radiation storms tore apart machines, the acidic winds burned through armor, and the ground itself seemed alive, shifting and cracking like it wanted to swallow anything that dared land there. And now, 6 human cadets were being sent there. At the center of the room, General Krax, a huge reptilian alien with scales the color of molten steel, slammed his clawed hand on the table. "This is madness," he hissed. "No species has ever survived the Chorus trial. Why send children?" General Saren, her insectoid face unreadable, clicked her mandibles softly. "Because they asked to," she replied. "And because they are Deathworlders." That word, Deathworlders, carried weight. It was what the galaxy called humans. They came from a planet so violent that everything there, the weather, the animals, even the air, tried to kill them. To most alien species, Earth was uninhabitable. To humans, it was home. Now those same humans stood on the holographic platform, 6 young cadets, barely out of training, their black armor gleaming under the academy lights. At their front was Cadet Mira Holt, the youngest team leader in the program's history. She didn't look nervous. Her dark eyes were calm, sharp, focused. Her voice came through the speakers clear and steady. "Cadet Team Delta ready for deployment," the alien generals whispered among themselves. "Ready for death, maybe," one muttered. Another scoffed. "Humans think courage replaces intelligence." Mira ignored the chatter. She looked over her squad. Jensen, tall and loyal, always joking but never backing down. Raya, the team's engineer, quiet but deadly precise. Torin, heavy gunner, a mountain of muscle. Eco, the tech genius. And Sarah, the medic who had once survived being hit by shrapnel the size of her hand. They had trained together for months. They had failed together. They had bled together. Now they were about to face something no one ever had. The holographic voice of the Academy AI spoke above them. Objective: retrieve the energy core from the ruins of the Chorus 9 research base. Time limit: 8 standard hours. Environmental rating: extreme hazard. Mission success probability 2.6%. Mira smirked slightly. "Better odds than last time." Jensen laughed under his breath. "Yeah, we're improving." General Krax turned to the others. "You see, they joke, even in the face of certain death." General Saren folded her arms. "Or maybe they understand fear better than we do." The chamber lights dimmed. A warning siren echoed through the hall. The mission had begun. Above the dead moon, a small dropship cut through the storm clouds, its hull shaking violently. Inside, the cadets sat strapped into their seats, their helmets sealed. The red light blinked above the door. Mira's voice came through the team comms. "Remember the plan. We land near the old relay tower, move underground fast and stay out of the open. Raya, you track radiation levels. Eco, get us visuals when the storm hits. Everyone else, eyes sharp." The dropship shuddered as lightning ripped across the sky. The pilot's voice cracked through static. 30 seconds to drop zone. "You kids better be ready. It's hell down there." Mira closed her eyes for one moment. In the dark, she saw Earth, blue, alive, beautiful. A reminder of why they fought. Then the light above the hatch turned green. "Go." The door blew open, and the roar of the toxic wind filled the cabin. One by one, the cadets jumped into the storm, their thruster packs flaring blue against the red clouds. From the viewing chamber, the alien generals watched the tiny figures vanish into chaos. General Krax shook his head. "They will not last 5 minutes." Saren said nothing. Her sharp eyes followed the human leader's descent. "They might surprise you," she whispered. The surface of Chorus 9 was worse than any report had described. The ground hissed like boiling metal, each step sinking into mud that smoked under their boots. The air burned their filters. But the humans kept moving. Rhea checked her scanner. "Radiation spike eastward. Base structure should be 2 clicks ahead." "Copy that," Mira said. "Keep it tight. Watch your flanks." Lightning flashed overhead, showing jagged ruins in the distance. Something massive moved between the shadows. Torin aimed his rifle. "Contact?" Mira lifted a hand. "No, just the storm." But even she didn't sound sure. Inside the command hall, alien officers tracked their vitals. Heart rates spiking, oxygen falling, radiation levels climbing. The room filled with tension. Every alien general leaned forward. These readings, one muttered, they should be collapsing. Yet the humans pressed on, steady, coordinated, relentless. Team Delta to base command. Mira's voice crackled through the feed. We've reached the perimeter. No casualties. The alien generals exchanged looks. No casualties? Impossible, Krax grunted. Then the data must be wrong. But it wasn't. The image on the holographic screen zoomed in, showing the 6 Deathworlder Cadets standing at the edge of the alien ruins, weapons drawn, armor glowing with faint light. Behind them, the storm raged, lightning crashing like angry gods. Mira lifted her visor and looked up, straight into the hovering drone that streamed their feed back to the academy. For a second, her eyes met the gaze of the alien generals watching her light years away. Then she said softly, "Let's show them what impossible looks like." The team disappeared into the ruins. In the silent war chamber, the alien generals could only stare at the fading feed. General Saren broke the silence. "Maybe. The humans aren't insane," Krax growled. "No, they're worse. They're human." The room fell quiet again as the screen flickered with static. The Deathworlders were now deep inside Chorus 9, where even the machines had died long ago. And somewhere in the dark, something began to move. The ruins of Chorus 9 were quiet. Too quiet. Broken towers leaned against one another like bones from a dead giant. The storm outside roared, but down here in the crumbling metal corridors, there was only the sound of human footsteps. Soft, careful, steady. Cadet Mira Holt led the way. Her helmet light cut through the dust, showing faded alien symbols across the walls. Everything smelled of burnt metal and decay. "Rhea, radiation?" she asked. "Rising, but still within safe levels," Rhea replied, checking her wrist scanner. "Air is unstable. Keep the filters tight." Behind them, Torin dragged his heavy plasma rifle through the muck. "Safe levels," he grunted. "On this planet, that probably means we'll only lose our hair." A quiet chuckle passed through the comms. Even under the threat of death, humans found room for humor. From orbit, the alien generals continued to watch. The live feed flickered, filled with static, but their wide eyes stayed locked on every move. General Krax's tail twitched impatiently. Why are they wasting time scanning walls? General Saren tilted her head, her mandibles clicking softly. Because they're looking for something the scanners missed. She was right. Mira stopped suddenly, kneeling near a pile of rubble. Beneath the dust, she found a faint blue glow. "Eco, get over here," she said. Eco crouched beside her, brushing off the dirt. "It's a power line. Ancient tech. Still active." "That's impossible," Rhea said. "Impossible seems to follow us around," Mira replied with a smirk. The alien generals heard her voice through the static. Calm, confident, human, and it unsettled them. Krax folded his arms. "She jokes. In a death zone. Or maybe she's reminding her team to stay human," Saren said quietly. The team pushed deeper into the ruins. The tunnels grew tighter, darker. Every few meters, strange metal vines hung from the ceiling, pulsing faintly with light, like veins inside a living creature. Sarah, the medic, touched one carefully. "Feels warm," she said. "Organic metal hybrid," Eco murmured. "This facility was grown, not built," Mira frowned. "A living base?" Before anyone could answer, a deep tremor shook the ground. Rocks fell from above and the corridor split open. "Move," Mira shouted. They sprinted as a section of the floor gave way, collapsing into a glowing pit of liquid energy. Torin barely made the jump, landing hard on the other side. "Close one," he gasped. "If that's what safe levels means, I'm filing a complaint," Rhea laughed nervously. "With who?" "The acid storm." Even in danger, the humans smiled. And that small act, that refusal to panic, was what kept them alive. Back in the command room, alien technicians scrambled. "Sir, seismic instability detected," one shouted. "The structure is collapsing," another added. General Krax slammed a fist on the table. "Pull them out. End this madness before they die." But the academy commander, an old four-eyed being named Theron, raised a hand. "Let them continue," he said calmly. The humans requested no assistance. Krax turned sharply. "You'll let children die just to prove a point?" Theron's voice was soft. "Perhaps the point is not ours to prove." Down below, Mira's team found a narrow stairway spiraling into darkness. The air grew hotter, thicker. The faint hum of machinery echoed from below. Jensen's voice came through the comms. "We're close to the power source." They reached the bottom, a vast underground hall lined with alien machinery, long dead but still glowing faintly with energy veins. In the center stood a large cylindrical object, cracked, humming, surrounded by strange alien runes. "The core," Mira whispered. Rhea scanned it. Energy levels off the charts. "This thing's still alive." "Then let's not wake it," Jensen muttered. Mira ignored him and stepped closer. Symbols shifted across the device as if responding to her presence. For a moment, the whole chamber pulsed with light, bright blue, like a heartbeat. In the observation deck, the alien generals gasped. "The reactor is active," a technician shouted. "It hasn't done that in centuries." Crack stared at the readings. "They triggered it." "But how?" Saren's voice was quiet. "Because they touched it without fear." Inside the chamber, the hum grew louder. "Something's wrong," Sarah said. "Energy surge incoming." Mira spun around. "Everyone take cover." The core exploded with light. Not a blast, but a wave of energy that swept through the room, throwing them to the ground. Static filled their helmets. When the light faded, everything was silent again. Rhea's voice came weakly. "Is everyone alive?" Torin groaned. "Define alive." Mira pushed herself up, coughing. "Status check." All 6 cadets responded. Bruised, dazed, but breathing. The core still glowed, but calmer now, like it had accepted their presence. Above, the alien generals could not believe it. "The energy burst should have vaporized them," Crack said. "What kind of creatures survived that?" Saren looked at the humans on the screen, battered but standing tall. "The kind who come from a world that never gives them peace." Mira looked around the hall. "Eco, get a read on that core. We need to stabilize it before extraction." Eco nodded. "On it, boss." "But it's rewriting its own data, like it's learning from us." "That's new," Rhea said. "Everything about this place is new," Mira replied. For a moment, the camera drone focused on her face, determination glowing behind the cracked visor. She wasn't scared. She was curious. That's what terrified the aliens the most, because curiosity, not strength, not weapons, was humanity's real power. Hours passed in silence as the Deathworlder Cadets worked inside the ruins. Outside, the storm grew worse, lightning striking the surface like bombs. The alien generals watched the readings climb, oxygen low, radiation rising, temperature spiking, yet the humans kept working. Finally, Mira's voice came through the comms. "Command, this is Delta Team. We've stabilized the core. Preparing for extraction. Static." Then cheers filled the control hall. Crack slammed his tail down, furious but amazed. "They're still alive." "How?" Saren smiled faintly. "They didn't fight the planet. They adapted to it, just like they always do." As the cadets climbed back toward the surface, the first pieces of the ceiling began to fall. Jensen shouted, "The whole place is coming down." Mira grabbed the core's containment case. "Then we run!" They sprinted through the collapsing ruins, dodging falling debris, leaping over cracks, their boots pounding against metal that screamed beneath them. The alien generals watched in silence, no longer mocking, no longer doubting and only watching, because at that moment, they weren't seeing reckless humans anymore. They were seeing survivors, and deep down, every alien in that room knew, if these young Deathworlders could survive Chorus 9, then maybe nothing in the galaxy could ever stop humanity again. The storm outside Chorus 9 howled like a beast. Lightning tore through the clouds and acid rain hissed against the cracked metal towers. Deep underground, the Deathworlder cadets raced through narrow tunnels, their armor lights flashing across the walls. They carried the glowing power core between them, sealed in a reinforced container. Its light pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. "Extraction point's 2 clicks east," Rhea said, glancing at her scanner. "Radiation's still climbing. We have 20 minutes before it hits lethal." "Then we don't stop," Mira replied, her voice sharp but calm. "Torin, rearguard. Jensen, watch for movement." "Movement?" Jensen muttered. "Down here? Everything's dead." That's when the floor beneath them moved. The tunnel vibrated, a deep, low rumble that echoed through the metal walls. Dust rained from above, Then from somewhere in the dark came a sound, not mechanical but alive. A long, slow hiss. "Contact!" Torrin shouted, spinning around. His visor lit up with red warnings. Shapes appeared in the shadows. Tall, thin figures, metallic and skeletal. Their bodies flickered with faint blue light. Their heads turned in eerie, perfect synchronization. "Defense drones," Eco said quickly. "Ancient automated guardians." The Corps must have reactivated them. Mira raised her rifle. "Then let's show them what we do to bad welcomes." The first drone lunged forward, claws sparking. Plasma bolts lit the tunnel as Torrin opened fire. Jensen moved beside him, covering the left flank. Raya dropped a flash grenade. The explosion threw light and sound through the corridor, blinding the machines for a moment. Mira shouted over the comms, "Move! Don't fight them all, we need distance." The team sprinted through the tunnels, the sound of metal claws scraping against the floor behind them. Up in the command chamber, alien generals watched in disbelief as their screens filled with motion alerts. "By the stars," one whispered. "Those drones were offline for centuries," General Krax growled. "Now they'll die for sure." But General Saren leaned forward, her compound eyes unblinking. "Don't count them out yet." Below, Mira's team burst into a massive circular chamber, the old command core of the alien facility. Dozens of glowing cables ran up the walls, connecting to a huge device in the center. The air shimmered with heat and static. "Seal the doors," Mira ordered. Rhea and Eco ran to the control panels, jamming their devices into the system. Sparks flew as they forced the old machinery to respond. Torrin planted a heavy charge near the entrance. "If they come through, I'll give them a proper greeting." Jensen laughed weakly. "I like your style." The door slammed shut just as the first drone reached it, claws screeching against the metal. The charge detonated, throwing smoke and sparks through the corridor. The explosion shook the room, but the barrier held. For now. Rhea exhaled. "That'll buy us 5 minutes, maybe less." Mira turned to Eco. "Can we route power to the base's old defense grid?" "Trying," Eco said, fingers flying over the alien interface. "System's half dead, but..." "Wait, I found something. There's a secondary AI still running here. Looks fragmented. Can it help?" Eco hesitated. "Maybe. Or maybe it's what woke the drones." Before Mira could answer, a new voice echoed through their comms. Cold. Metallic. "Unauthorized presence detected. Identify." Sarah froze. "That wasn't one of us." Eco's console flickered, text shifting faster than he could read. "It's taking control of the base network." Mira clenched her jaw. "Kill the connection. I can't." The lights in the chamber turned blood red. The walls vibrated as mechanical limbs unfolded from hidden slots. "Defense system online," the voice said. "Neutralization protocol activated." From the observation deck, the alien generals stared in horror. They triggered the Guardian Core. A technician gasped. "That AI was sealed for a reason." General Krax rose to his feet. "Shut it down." "We can't," another shouted. "The facility's been cut off for centuries. The humans are on their own." Saran didn't move. Her gaze stayed fixed on the feed. "Let's see how Deathworlders handle gods of metal." Back underground, chaos erupted. The chamber's walls split open, revealing giant machines crawling out, humanoid constructs made of silver and shadow. Eyes glowing like molten stars. "Open fire," Mira commanded. Blinding light filled the room as plasma rounds tore through the air. The machines returned fire, energy bolts scorching the floor. One blast caught Jensen's shoulder, throwing him backward. Sarah rushed to him, sealing the wound with a biofoam injector. "Stay down." "I'm good," he groaned, getting back up. "Just a scratch." The ground shook again. The AI's voice boomed louder. "You are intruders. This facility is forbidden." Mira ducked behind a console, shouting over the noise. "Forbidden or not, we're leaving with that core." Rhea's scanner beeped. The AI's drawing power from the core itself. "If it drains it, we lose everything." "Suggestions?" Mira yelled. Eco's voice cracked. "We overload the system." "Burn it out," Torrin grinned. "Now you're speaking my language." The cadets worked fast. Raya rerouted energy lines. Eco planted a virus into the system. Torrin set up explosives on the power conduits. Through it all, Mira stood her ground, firing round after round to cover her team. Her visor cracked, her armor scorched, but she didn't stop. The alien generals watching could hardly breathe. "These cadets, they fight like veterans," one said softly. "No," Saran corrected. They fight like humans. Ready, Eco shouted. On your mark. Mira took a deep breath. Everyone brace. She pressed the detonator. The entire facility screamed. Energy exploded outward, white light flooding the screen. The AI's voice cut into static, breaking apart mid-sentence. Then silence. The dust settled. The red lights faded. Only the faint hum of the power core remained. Rhea coughed. Did it work? The central console flickered weakly. A single line of alien text scrolled across it, then stopped. Eco translated softly. It says, acknowledged. Access granted. Mira smiled, tired but proud. Then let's go home. Back at the academy, the alien generals sat frozen. General Krax broke the silence first. They survived again. Even the Guardian AI submitted to them. General Saren's voice was almost reverent. Maybe it saw what we see now. And what's that? Krax asked. Saren turned her gaze to the screen where the humans were preparing to extract the core. That humanity doesn't conquer by force. They conquer by will. The feed showed Mira looking up at the drone camera. Her face bruised and bloodied, but her eyes, fierce and alive, she whispered. Mission not over yet. The screen faded to black, but across the galaxy, the legend of the Deathworlder Cadets was only beginning. The ground trembled beneath their boots. Dust and smoke filled the chamber as red warning lights flashed across the walls. The once stable alien facility now groaned like a dying beast. Structural integrity failing, Eco shouted, checking the display on his wrist. The overload triggered a full meltdown sequence. Mira's voice cut through the chaos. Then we move now. Grab the core and go. Torin hoisted the heavy power core, still glowing with unstable energy, onto his back unit. The hum was louder now, vibrating through his armor. Rhea coughed through the smoke. Radiation spiking again. We've got less than 10 minutes before this whole place goes critical. Mira glanced at the shaking ceiling. Then we run faster than it explodes. The team raced down the corridor they came from, lights flickering above them. Cracks split the walls. Hot steam burst through broken pipes. Behind them, a massive explosion ripped through the lower levels. A shockwave that threw them all forward. Everyone okay? Mira called out, pushing herself off the floor. Still alive, Jensen grunted. Barely. The metal walkway beneath them began to tilt downward. The whole structure was sinking into molten ground. Eco shouted, The moon's core is destabilizing. The overload's burning through the crust. Then we're not dying here, Mira said. Move, move, move! Up in orbit, the alien generals stared in disbelief at the satellite feeds. Heat readings off the charts, a technician said. The entire sector is collapsing. General Krax slammed his fist against the console. Evacuate them now. Beam them out. Saran shook her head. The radiation field blocks all transport signals. They have to make it to the surface first, another general muttered. No one can survive that kind of meltdown. Saran's gaze hardened. You haven't seen humans run when death is behind them. Below, the Deathworlder Cadets sprinted through tunnels as explosions echoed behind them. The facility's AI, once silenced, flickered back to life in broken bursts of static. Error. System containment breach. Mira's visor displayed a new warning. Atmospheric collapse in progress. Rhea, nearest route to the surface? She demanded. Rhea scanned the map. Secondary shaft, 200 meters east. It's a straight climb. Then that's our ticket out. They turned a corner, and only to freeze. The tunnel had split open into a massive chasm, a glowing river of molten metal flowing below. The heat shimmered, distorting the air. Paths gone, Torin shouted. Think, Mira said, scanning the ceiling. Her eyes locked on a series of maintenance rails crossing above. We can use those. Jensen frowned. You're serious? Mira grinned despite the chaos. You got a better idea? They climbed fast, grappling hooks firing into the rails. Mira led the way, swinging across the molten gap while debris rained down from above. Torin followed, the heavy power core throwing off sparks with every motion. Don't look down, Sarah shouted. I wasn't planning to, Jensen yelled back. Halfway across, a support beam snapped. The rail cracked, jerking Torin off balance. The core slipped from his back, dangling by a cable over the lava. Got it, Mira shouted, grabbing the tether and pulling with all her strength. The heat scorched her gloves, but she didn't let go. Torin reached down, securing the core again. You saved the mission, Mira smirked. You save the core, you save everyone. They made it to the far side, collapsing onto the floor. The tremors grew stronger, chunks of rock falling around them. Ria's scanner beeped rapidly. We're close. The shaft's just ahead. They ran toward a massive circular hatch half buried in rubble. The access panel was shattered, wires exposed. I can bypass it, Eco said, dropping to his knees. His fingers flew across the circuits. Give me 60 seconds. We don't have 60, Jensen shouted as the floor behind them buckled. The AI's broken voice echoed again. Evacuation. Impossible. Termination. Imminent. Shut up, Torin growled, firing a burst into the ceiling as if to drown the voice out. Done, Eco shouted. The hatch creaked, then burst open with a hiss of pressure. A rush of cooler air hit them, the passage to the surface. Go, Mira ordered. They climbed the shaft, hands burning from the heat of the metal ladder. The light above grew brighter, sunlight breaking through cracks in the ceiling. Then the ground shook violently. The explosion below sent a wave of energy surging up the shaft. Hold on, Ria screamed as the blast hit. The ladder tore free from the wall. Eco slipped, but Mira caught his wrist at the last second. The force nearly pulled her down, but Torin grabbed her arm, anchoring them both. Pull, Mira shouted. Together! With a final heave, they dragged Eco back onto the ladder. The explosion faded, replaced by the deep rumble of collapsing stone. They climbed faster, lungs burning, until Mira's hand broke through the surface layer, and daylight flooded her visor. They crawled out of the ground covered in dust and ash. The sky above was dark, choked with smoke and lightning. The surface of Chorus 9 was breaking apart, fiery cracks spreading across the horizon. Ria fell to her knees, coughing. We made it, somehow. Torin set the core down gently, its glow now dim but stable. We should be dead. Mira looked up at the burning sky. But we're not. In orbit, the alien generals sat in stunned silence. They survived that? Krax whispered. Siran smiled faintly. You can't measure their will in numbers. Another general leaned forward. And the core? The readings show it's intact, a technician said. They protected it all the way out. Saren turned away from the screen. Prepare the retrieval ship. Bring them home. On the ground, the cadets watched the escape shuttle descend through the clouds and a silver arrow cutting through the smoke. Mira stood as the ramp lowered. The air around her shimmered with heat and ash. We did it, Jensen said softly. Not yet, Mira replied. Let's get this thing off this cursed moon before it decides to explode again. They boarded the shuttle, the doors closing behind them as the engines roared to life. The ground below cracked open, releasing a final burst of flame as they lifted off. Through the viewport, the cadets watched the surface collapse into itself, the entire moon falling silent. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Mira exhaled, her voice steady. That's one hell of a field trip. Torin laughed quietly. Yeah, let's never do it again. As the shuttle soared into the stars, the alien generals watched in awe. The Deathworlder Cadets, Saren said, almost to herself. They turn impossible missions into history, Krax grunted. And history into legend. The stars reflected off Mira's eyes as she looked out the window, back toward the dying world they had escaped. She whispered softly, Mission accomplished. The shuttle cut through the blackness of space, silent except for the low hum of its engines. Inside, the Deathworlder cadets sat strapped into their seats, their armor scorched, their faces streaked with sweat and grime. For a long time, none of them spoke. Only the rhythmic beeping of life support systems filled the air, a reminder they were still alive. Mira sat near the cockpit, her eyes fixed on the stars. We made it out, Ria whispered finally. Mira nodded slowly. Yeah, but something doesn't feel right. What do you mean? Jensen asked. She turned her gaze toward the glowing power core still secured in its containment field. Its surface pulsed faintly, almost like it was breathing. They sent us for this, Mira said, but no one told us why. And that AI, it knew who we were. Torin frowned. You think the general set us up? I think, Mira said quietly, we were part of something bigger than they told us. Hours later, their shuttle entered orbit around the Galactic Defense Academy. The massive station hung in space like a crown of steel and light, its rings rotating slowly. As they docked, the bay doors opened to reveal a group of armored guards waiting. At their head stood General Saren herself, tall insectoid, her chitin armor reflecting the hangar lights. Welcome back, cadets, she said in a calm but unreadable tone. You've caused quite a commotion. Mira saluted. Mission complete, General. The power core is secured. Saren tilted her head. Indeed, but your mission was never meant to be completed, Rhea stiffened. Excuse me? The General's eyes flicked toward the hovering containment field. That core was supposed to remain sealed forever. Its activation could have destabilized the region. Torrin stepped forward, anger rising. You sent us into a trap? Saren's mandibles twitched slightly. No, Cadet. I sent you into history. Moments later, the cadets were escorted into the Grand Council chamber, a vast hall filled with alien generals from across the galaxy. Their seats rose in a circular formation, each one lit by a blue holographic symbol. At the center stood the 5 cadets, tired, wounded, but unbroken. General Krax's booming voice echoed through the hall. You disobeyed direct extraction orders. You destroyed a classified facility, and you brought back a relic of unknown danger. Mira stepped forward. With respect, Generaling, we followed the only path that didn't end in death. Another general, a crystalline being, leaned forward. Yet you defied protocol, Torrin growled. We also survived what your computer said was impossible. The chamber buzzed with murmurs. Saran finally raised a hand. Enough. Silence fell. She stood and walked slowly toward the center. Cadets, do you know what that core truly is? Eco hesitated. An energy source? A weapon? Saren's compound eyes flickered. Neither. It's a seed, everyone stared. A seed, Mira repeated. Yes, Saran said. A biomechanical archive. It contains the memory and consciousness of the first civilization that ruled this sector, a race that vanished millions of years ago. That AI you fought was their guardian. And now, she looked directly at the core. It recognizes you as its new masters. The cadets exchanged stunned looks. Rhea whispered. It acknowledged us before we left. It said access granted, and Saren nodded. Exactly. And that is why the Council is terrified. General Krax slammed his claws on the table. That thing is forbidden technology. It could infect every system in the fleet. Saren's tone was calm. Or it could give us knowledge beyond our reach. The room erupted in arguments, voices overlapping, translators struggling to keep up. Through the noise, Mira raised her voice. With all due respect, generals, we didn't go through hell to argue about fear. We risked our lives for this mission. If that core wanted to kill us, it had plenty of chances. The chamber quieted. Every gaze turned toward her. Mira's voice was steady. Maybe it chose us for a reason. For a long moment, Saran simply stared at her, then smiled faintly. Perhaps you're right, Cadet Mira. Humanity has always been full of surprises. Later, in a private debrief room, the 5 cadets sat together once again. The air was quiet, heavy with the sound of distant machinery. Rhea leaned against the wall. So what now? They can't just throw us in a cell after what we did. They might, Jensen said grimly. Krax looks like he wants us erased. Torrin crossed his arms. Let him try. Mira sat at the table, staring at the datapad in front of her. On it glowed a single message, encrypted, unsigned. The core has awakened. Watch the stars. They will soon watch you. She frowned. Someone knows more than they're saying. Eco glanced at the pad. Could it be the AI again? Or someone controlling it, Mira said. Either way, we're not done yet. In the observation deck above, General Saren and Krax watched through the glass wall. You're protecting them, Krax said. You think they're special. Saran's mandibles twitched. They are. They're dangerous. They're human, she corrected. Dangerous is what they are. Krax turned away. If that seed activates again, we'll all pay the price. Saren looked down at the cadets, her eyes glinting. Or it might just save us all. Meanwhile, inside the sealed containment chamber, the power core pulsed softly. Its glow brightened, spreading across the walls like veins of light. Symbols appeared on the surface, alien glyphs slowly transforming into human letters. Initiation complete. Phase 2 ready? The core's light flared once, then dimmed. A low hum filled the chamber, a heartbeat in the silence. And for the first time in eons, something ancient and sentient opened its eyes. In the cadet quarters, Mira jolted awake from her bunk, heart racing. She didn't know why, but somewhere deep in her mind she had heard a voice. We have chosen you. She sat up, breathing hard, eyes wide with realization. The mission wasn't over. It had just begun. Mira sat up in her bunk, breathing heavily. The room was dark, the station lights dimmed for night cycle. Her heart pounded in her chest, that voice. It hadn't been a dream. We have chosen you. The words still echoed in her mind, not like sound, but like a thought planted deep within her. Mira? Ria's sleepy voice came from the next bunk. You okay? Yeah, Mira whispered. Just thought I heard something. Ria yawned. You and your instincts. Go back to sleep before the morning drills. But Mira didn't sleep. She couldn't because outside her window, beyond the stars, something was moving. The next morning, the cadets were summoned again, this time to the research wing. The power core had been moved there overnight, surrounded by force fields and dozens of alien scientists. When the team entered, the core's glow brightened, reacting instantly to their presence. General Saren stood beside the observation glass, arms folded. Good, you're here, she said. It's been active since dawn. Eco blinked. Active how? Before Saren could answer, the core's surface rippled like liquid metal. Lines of light formed symbols that shifted rapidly, then stabilized into human text. Hello, children of Earth. The entire room went silent. Jensen took a step back. It's talking. It's actually talking. Saran's compound eyes narrowed. It hasn't spoken to anyone else. Only you, Torin frowned. Why us? The message shifted again. You survived the test. You are ready, Ria whispered. The test. The mission. Mira stared at the glowing text. You mean Chorus 9? As the world of fire was your trial. You are Deathworlders. You endure where others break. You are the key. The scientists in the background began shouting readings. The core's energy levels were rising fast. Shut it down, one yelled. Containment is failing. Another cried, but Mira raised her hand. Wait, it's not attacking us. The glow dimmed slightly, responding to her voice. It was listening. Mira stepped closer to the glass. What do you want from us? To remember, to restore, to begin again. The room trembled. The lights flickered. Up in the control deck, General Crack stormed in. What have you done, Saren? That thing's energy signature is spreading through the station. Saren didn't answer. Her gaze was locked on the core. Shut it down now, Cracks roared. But before anyone could move, the power went out. The entire academy plunged into darkness. Then from deep within the core, a beam of white light shot upward, piercing through the station's ceiling. The beam expanded, forming glowing circuits across the structure. Every screen lit up with alien runes. Awakening protocol activated. The cadets stumbled as the deck vibrated beneath them. What's happening? Aiko shouted over the noise. The core's interfacing with the station's systems, Ria yelled. Mira's eyes widened. It's rewriting them. Suddenly, the noise stopped. The light faded, and everything became calm again. The systems came back online one by one. Except now, every holographic display showed one new emblem, a shining white symbol shaped like a merging star and spiral. What is that? Jensen asked softly. The voice returned, deep and calm. Your species was never alone. We watched. We waited. We built this place as a test. Those who pass become us. Torin stepped forward. You mean merge with you? Evolve. The lights brightened again. All across the station, data began to flow. Ancient knowledge streaming into every system. The alien scientists stared in awe as their devices displayed things beyond their understanding. Technologies, languages, star maps. Ria whispered. It's sharing everything it knows. But Mira's voice trembled. Or everything it wants us to know. General Saren watched from the balcony. Her usual calm expression had turned to quiet wonder. Do you realize what this means, Cracks? She said softly. This core carries the memory of an entire civilization, one that trusted humans to carry it forward. Cracks growled. Or to destroy us all. Saren turned her head. You still don't understand. They didn't choose humanity for their strength. They chose them for their will. Back in the lab, the core's glow softened. The galaxy is fractured, war comes again. Only those who endure can unite it. Mira clenched her fists. You're saying, we have to fight? You must lead. The message faded. The hum grew weaker, until finally the core went silent. Ria looked at the monitors. It's resting again, Torin sighed. And I was starting to enjoy not nearly dying, Jensen smirked. Yeah, this feels like the calm before the next storm. Mira stared at the core, her reflection glowing faintly in its light. We were trained to survive the impossible, she said quietly. Maybe this is what we were meant for. Hours later, the cadets stood on the observation deck watching the stars drift by. Below them, the planet's remains shimmered like embers fading in the dark. Rhea crossed her arms. So that we passed some ancient alien test. No big deal, right? Jensen laughed. Next time, let's just fail and stay home. Torin chuckled, but Mira didn't smile. She was staring at the horizon, at a distant, pulsing light far away in the void. Eiko noticed her expression. You see it too, don't you? Yeah, she said softly. The signal. They all turned to look. A faint rhythmic pulse, identical to the one from the core, flickered among the stars. There are more, Mira whispered. Dozens of them, Torin exhaled. You mean more seeds? Mira nodded slowly. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. In the command center, Saran watched the same signal on her display. Behind her, Crack spoke quietly. If these seeds wake across the galaxy, we'll face powers beyond imagination. Saren's gaze hardened. Then we'll need those Deathworlders more than ever. The final image lingered on the stars. Dozens of glowing points pulsing in unison, like a heartbeat spreading through the void. A new age was beginning, and at its center stood 5 young humans who had done the impossible. The galaxy would remember their names. They were no longer just cadets. They were the future. They were the Deathworlder vanguard.